If you have ever watched a video on Medic before, you have probably heard the phrase, just use the crossbow, and so you equip it. But for whatever reason, people rarely actually say why to just equip the crossbow, and they act as if it is a given. As a result, while many medics have the crossbow equipped, they don't actually use the crossbow because they simply don't know when or why, with the best answer people who are not in the know can give is healing people from far away, a YouTuber told me, and the syringe guns are bad. And so that is what this video is for, telling you why you should actually just use the crossbow, and also the times where you shouldn't. Now to start with, this is your medigun. It has a connect range of 450 hammer units and will heal for 24 health every second, and it will build 2.5% uber charge every second. And this is the crossbow. It shoots a 2400 hammer units per second projectile, which will heal for a minimum of 75 to any teammates it hits. Once it's fired, it takes 1.75 seconds until it can be fired again. Pretty simple. The crossbow will also build ubercharge, 1% for every 48 healing done, meaning about 1.5% per shot. But if you are good at maths, you may have realized this gives it a healing of 42 a second, making it nearly twice as good as the Medibeam. This is what makes the crossbow so strong, at least the primary reason. Because it allows Medic to output a ridiculous amount of healing for basically free. But healing per second isn't the whole story, because the way the crossbow heals is completely different from the Medigun. The Medigun gives you a constant stream of healing, whereas the crossbow gives you a massive burst of health instantly. This is really important because, for example, imagine a soldier is fighting another player, and he is sitting at 50 health. If you use your Medigun, you are healing him for 24 health every second. Meaning it takes several seconds before he is back into a comfortable health range, meaning that in combat, the soldier will just die to the next shot regardless of whether you're healing him or not. But with the crossbow, you can instantly hit him for 75, putting him at 125 HP, allowing him to tank another hit. And if that still wasn't enough, the crossbow also reloads passively, meaning that you can switch back to your minigun to get healing done with the beam. Switching weapons takes 0.5 seconds in game, so it will look like this. You fire the crossbow, immediately switch back to your minigun, which will take half a second, and then heal with it for 0.75 seconds, while the crossbow reloads. You then swap back to the crossbow, taking another half a second, just in time to fire it again as soon as possible, and then you repeat this cycle continuously. This is known as crossbow cycling, or arrow tanking, or some other combination of these words. The idea is that healing from the minigun while the crossbow is reloading will add an extra 18 health to the cycle, which causes your healing now to be roughly 53 a second, which is 120% more than what the minigun can do solo, effectively allowing the medic to be just as strong as two medics. This allows you to heal up a group of injured teammates at twice the speed just by shooting arrows, which makes a certain other unlock a little less desirable. It's also why the quick fix is the worst minigun, because the faster beam healing barely adds anything to your healing per second. Of course, you probably won't be hitting the perfectly optimal timing for 100% efficient crossbow cycling in an actual game, and because of this, it is generally more consistent to stick with your minigun and fire off arrows whenever you actually need them, rather than forcing a cycle every time the crossbow is available. And to further cement this with how the crossbow builds ubercharge. While it does generate uber, it only gives 1.5% per arrow, and during the 1 second spent swapping weapons, you could have simply kept your minigun active and gained 2.5% over that same period. The trade-off is simple, but the crossbow gives you significantly more healing at the cost of lower uber build-up speed. For this reason, the best time to use crossbow is if it will save that teammate's life, referring to the previous soldier demonstration. Going further, using it for tanking a teammate who is under heavy fire to boost your healing output on them to save their life in a drawn-out fight, the crossbow cycling I just mentioned. Or lastly, where many will struggle, during downtime, such as after a team fight to heal teammates back up faster to get them into combat again faster. For example, if teammates are falling back to you, shoot them a crossbow and then they can instantly go back to doing whatever they were doing before, allowing you to focus on beaming someone and building uber. This can easily create roles if their medic is not doing the same, or if they simply don't have one. So all of this is the primary reason why the crossbow is so good, but it actually has even more going for it. The obvious advantage is that it allows you to heal outside of your medigun's range. Now a lot of people think this only means hitting some teammate who is standing on the complete other side of the map, But that's not really how you should be thinking about it. The crossbow doesn't need to be a cross-match shot to be valuable. Even if a teammate is only a few footsteps away from you, firing an arrow can still be faster than walking over to them and connecting your beam and starting the healing process. This is especially useful when you're already committed to healing someone else. If another teammate takes damage just outside of your minigun range, you don't need to abandon your current target. You can just fire an arrow at them and continue to beam your original target. And if they still need more healing, just fire a second arrow when it comes off cooldown. The crossbow lets you heal multiple teammates without constantly needing to choose who gets your attention. This also makes it incredibly useful during retreats. If a situation is falling apart and you decide to back away, you don't need to completely abandon your teammates. While you're escaping, you can continue to just fire arrows back at them. At best, that extra healing will keep them alive long enough to escape with you or to kill the enemies. And at worst, it forces your enemies to spend more time finishing them off, giving you more time to run away as they're focused on others. And this is where another part of the crossbow becomes more important. The 75 healing isn't actually the full story, that's only the minimum amount it can heal for. The further the arrow travels, the more healing it does, scaling all the way up to 150 health at maximum distance. This isn't just a case of needing a perfect cross-map shot either. The healing scales gradually, meaning that even at relatively close distances, a shot can easily heal for 80 or even 90 health if you're maintaining some distance between you and your target. The distance scaling also affects Uber gain, since the crossbow gains Uber based on the amount healed. Longer distance arrows naturally give more Uber charge. This means that even if your goal is purely to build Uber, always shoot arrows at faraway teammates because it will probably build more Uber than just sticking with the beam. And if that wasn't enough, the crossbow also deals damage. And just like its healing, it scales with distance, dealing anywhere from 38 damage at close range up to 75 at maximum range. Now, obviously you aren't going to be replacing your team's main damage dealers, but a long-range arrow can be really helpful. Similarly, being able to save a dying teammate, if an enemy is close to dying, you can just finish them off with an arrow. And this is when the Solemn Vow is peak. The biggest advantage though is that there is almost no downside to taking these shots when you have the opportunity. If your team is healthy, the only thing you lose is 1 second of Uber building time. But if you're healing someone who is already at max overheal, your gain is halved anyway, so it doesn't matter too much. But it can matter, so don't just constantly fire arrows, only do so if it will kill, or at least damage them enough to lead to a kill. So use the Solemn Vow. But despite all this, I don't actually think it is the be-all end-all that everyone thinks it is. Using the crossbow too much will cause you to delay a Uber. If you have an injured teammate who isn't in immediate combat, sure, you can arrow them to get into fighting faster, or you can just use your mini beam and then heal them, albeit slower, but you will build your Uber faster. There's also crit heals. When teammates haven't taken damage in 15 seconds, healing from the minigun will be tripled, making it 74 a second. And if you can track who hasn't taken damage recently and thus have crit heals, arrowing them will be pointless because the healing just won't matter. And not only this, but the crossbow does have one very impactful downside. What? No headshots? What? No, it has a really slow fire rate and really low damage up close. Even at max distance, the fire rate makes it just not a good tool for combat. Which, obviously, yeah, you're a medic. But what I mean is for self-defense. If an enemy jumps you, there is very little you can do as a medic in general. But with the crossbow equipped, what are your options? Shoot them for 40 damage and then just die? That's it. Now in theory, your teammates are supposed to protect you. And in competitive environments or anywhere with proper communication, they might. Sometimes. But in casual, it isn't unlikely for them to completely ignore your existence. And if that keeps happening, it might be more optimal to have a defensive item. Anything else though, probably just stick to the crossbow. Unless you're being funny. Anyway, so hopefully this was helpful. Taught you something about lots on weapons. Bye.